Have you always wanted to start your own business? Do you have an innovative idea or an invention, but just don't know how to turn it into a company? Are you already in business and need some help growing? The BRF's Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program can help. At EAP, we work alongside you, helping you with things like financial modeling, funding strategy, pitch preparation, and marketing strategy. So what are you waiting for? Go to eapla.com today and set up a time to talk with our team. Let EAP help you launch or grow your business in North Louisiana today.
Welcome back to On the Cusp. Matt Snyder, my co-host, is back with me. And with us today is Megan Chavez. And we have known you since you first started in the prepped up meals. Okay.
Well, baby business, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You came in with the idea on that. Tell us, what is prepped up meals?
So we are a meal prep business, but at the same time, we're like a lifestyle health and wellness, or, just trying to make your life easier because we cook for you and do your dishes. And, hey, we're saving dinner time, lunch time for the family. So we take care of all of it. Yeah.
So how does somebody use prepped up meals?
This wonderful thing called an app, a website, technology. So you order online. We change our menu every week. We have multiple menu items, so you're never bored or tired of the same, rice and chicken and vegetables, So you stay on track and you order weekly. You can order monthly if you like. It's no subscription. It's really easy. Order as you go. Your macros are there if you're into that kind of thing. Or we have clients that come from their doctors. Their doctors basically prescribe us to kind of take care of them. So if they're coming out of surgery and they need to really watch what they're doing, or if they're pre-diabetic, or even like plastic surgeons in town, they're, post-op and they're trying to, have their best life and live their best life and make sure that all this beauty procedure that they just went through, they make it to the end.
Works.
They have to make sure that they're getting enough amount of protein. They're taking care of themselves. They're getting an adequate amount of nutrition, of nutrients to really heal properly. So that we've had multiple cancer patients, heart patients, you name it, we've taken care of it. So we're just kind of there to, one, be the accountability partner, but also to make sure that whatever your long-term or short-term goals are, we can kind of
Now, you had an interesting path to get to where you are today. You kind of dabbled in the restaurant piece for a little bit. Tell us about that journey.
So, we have enough time for that? Yeah. So initially, I'd gone to school. This is wild. So I had started college not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, other than one day we had this job fair at school my senior year, and I remember there was this pharmacist who came by and they made 6 figures, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I did that for 6 months in school, and I just realized maybe school is just not for me, just not it. It's and I don't even take Tylenol, so why would that be a good fit? And so then I moved to Texas, and I was in San Antonio at the time. And I was doing real estate down there, working for this big firm, and it was great. But then I've cooked my whole life. I was raised by my grandmother, who cooked constantly, and we lived in Sunset Acres, and so a lot of the kids in the neighborhood, their parents didn't cook for them. They were actually 90% of the kids in the neighborhood lived with their grandparents. And so my grandparents were younger, and they were very very prevalent in my life, very active in my life. Anything that I was doing, they were there, right next to me, or taking me somewhere constantly. It wasn't like a neighborhood that I could really go out and ride my bike and hang out with my kid friends. We were going and doing, or throwing me in 4-H or cooking classes. And so I started taking cooking classes at a young age, and I've always loved it, just never really thought that it would be something that would pay the bills, or back in the day, you didn't really see a lot of female chefs just kicking tail, or owning it. It was kind of like a joke. Fast forward, while I was down in San Antonio, there was the Culinary Institute that had come down there, I believe in 2011 or 2012. And I love art, anything creative. And so I fell in love with the the art area down there. And that's where the culinary school was. And so the art district, excuse me. So you have the Alamo and you have all these things in San Antonio that everybody goes to. But whenever you live there, you try to like find like nooks and crannies to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
And so there was this restaurant called Feast that was down there that actually closed in 2021. And it was like something I'd never seen before. It was so beautiful, and I'd never had tapas before. And I get down there, and I can barely afford to buy one plate of tapas, right? And I think I was like 22. And I fall in love with the ambiance and the scene and the music and the food. I hate Brussels sprouts and I ate Brussels sprouts, and it like turned me on to this idea of it's something that I hate, and somebody can change my mind and my heart and make me feel a certain way whenever I eat it. It's this feeling, and it became addicting, and I've always enjoyed doing that. In college and in like, just early 20s, I would host just dinner parties at my house. There were nothing fancy, but I was feeding all of my friends. All of us were broke. So like I can turn a meal that cost me $10 and I can feed 30 people, you know, and it's good stuff. And so, and that was something that I was very, very confident in, that I am a great cook. I can cook anything for the most part. At that time in my head, other than rice, I couldn't cook rice.
Oh my God.
Rice is hard.
Yeah.
Look, one of the cooking competitions in 4-H, I was in 7th grade, and I fudged on my rice. And I've had this like weird, I can't do it.
Mental block.
You know,
It's
yes,
just a
this
mental
mental
block
block. And
back
I'm like,
there.
it's just the finger trick. Just do the freaking finger trick. Well, finally, like, whenever I opened the restaurant, it was like, you got to get it. Like, no more rice cookers, Megan. So, yeah, now there's no complex. It's fine. I can cook rice in my sleep. But anyway, so that all happened. And one day we ended up moving back home, and I was transferring my real estate license here, and I kind of already started a family. I had our son, and I was actually kind of in the process of transferring everything over. It's not a reciprocal state, so I had to redo all of the real estate stuff. And I went to go take my real estate exam. I was getting ready to. And I'd been cooking healthy food out of my kitchen at my house for myself and my husband, and, that was it. And I'd lost all my baby weight, and I've always cooked really healthy, and I always had this understanding of food and really what food does to your body, and this wild awareness of how I feel, not emotionally, but how I feel just after I eat something, whether it's bread or pasta. How do I feel? Sugar, how do I feel? How do I feel whenever I drink a glass of water, which we're, 90% of the population's walking around like chronically dehydrated, and we're just sitting here bebopping around until we drink enough water and we're like, wow, we feel great. Wow, our skin is great. Wow, we're not wrinkled anymore. Anyways, that started catching on. This is 2015. Yeah, it started catching on, and I made a post on social media, the craziest thing, and then folks were like knocking at my house door to like make them meals.
I remember that.
It was wild.
But at the same time, though, you were going down this bodybuilding competition path.
So that kind of
nutrition, everything at the same time.
Everything kind of hand in hand went together, and it's wild how God works, And so I was like on this path of like, man, I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden there were these doors open and these opportunities to do something that I really and truly I enjoy, and I love it. It's because it's so chaotic. It's such chaos, and half the time after I get done, I'm like, why am I doing this? And then you can't wait to do it again.
I think that's a message that's like really important to me. It's like you were talking about, like you're going to school and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're like, I think it's okay.
It's not a one size fits all.
I have the exact same story there. It is okay to say, this is not for me.
Yes.
And like, I'm going to go do what I'm passionate about and I'm good at, and I'm
Right.
going to go do it. And I think like that's a message that doesn't get passed
Pushed, yeah.
down as much as it probably could be. So
Absolutely.
I think that's a cool message.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like and I had student debt too, right? So I
Yeah.
had student loans and all these things, and I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where like, man, like I guess I'm not a professional because I didn't go. That's horse crap. And that's
It
a
is.
lie
Absolutely.
that,
You're lying to yourself
Right.
if you ever feel that way,
Absolutely.
okay?
Yeah.
Because it is what you make it. And you've done
Right.
that right here in Shreveport.
Yeah.
I see you in all the culinary competitions, across the city.
And you have like here, there's not another place. I mean, I'm a little biased, but like, I can't believe, it's hard to think that there would be another place where you have so many like similar businesses or restaurants or chefs or whomever in the same industry that's so willing to be like, hey,
Yeah.
come in my kitchen.
Yeah, but I think
Hey.
that's a
Yeah.
unique aspect of our community
Yeah,
that people
absolutely.
from outside don't see it, okay?
Yeah.
And that is people here want you to succeed.
Yes.
Okay? And there are always going to be people that are going to focus on the negative, and there's 1,000 negative things that you can focus on Shreveport, Bossier, North Louisiana.
But some really good things too.
But there are more good things.
Yes.
And I believe one of those is the people that want you to be successful.
Absolutely. What were you about to say?
I was going to say the food industry, and I say this a lot on here, but the food industry is a shining example
Speaking,
for
yes,
Shreveport.
absolutely.
When we talk on here a lot, almost always I go to, well, the restaurant scene is what we need to be trying to get everything else closer
Yes,
to.
absolutely. Well,
Because the last 10 years have been game changing.
Yeah.
I mean, 15,
Yep.
like, we're so much closer to other cities on our culinary scene than we are on a
1,000%.
lot of other things. So I hope we can start utilizing that as an example and start putting it into action in other
Oh.
Yeah,
areas.
well, I
Absolutely.
agree with y'all. What you're passionate about and you do, okay, you will make work if that is truly your passion.
Yeah.
And I think you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
You just found it and you ran with it. And now we just said you're opening a store on North Market.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. It's grown beyond just one place, okay, and cooking it out of your house.
Yeah.
It's grown so much more to that. I hope people nationally are ordering, from their prepared meals from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, we did that. We did that for a little while. And it's all about trial and error. You're never going to know how far you can go or like where you should maybe take a step back and what's important and what's not. And where you want to scale yourself and you do it so quickly and you make these crazy errors and mistakes that which I think I'm grateful for. But
You learn more from your mistakes.
oh,
than
heck
you would-
yeah, absolutely. I learned from my mistakes. I learned from a lot of other people's mistakes. And I think that's like key in any kind of entrepreneurship is where you have these mentors, you have folks, which I have, where you have to be, your cup cannot already be full because you cannot pour into a cup that is already full and somebody who knows everything. And I like to pretend sometimes that I'm not very bright whenever it comes to that. Like, tell me what you did and I'll just listen and I won't make that mistake that you did. Sometimes I am a little bit more hard-headed than others as well. And I do like to make
Well,
mistakes.
I do
but
believe that it's okay to go out there, make a mistake, learn from it, pour that back into the business.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then go to the next level.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to bring this up because this is impressive to me. You're in an industry that has been competitive in our market, and it is like you're introducing a new idea in a lot of ways. I get all that. And you've made this thing survive and grow through COVID. Like, tell me,
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't talked about this before, but like your ability to pivot and shift and stay going, I always pride myself on that. Like, I think that's what makes like an entrepreneur a real, you can own a business and be whatever, but an entrepreneur knows how to like pivot in situations.
Man.
Talk to me about that.
Pre-COVID, we opened this restaurant. And it was like this dream. I wanted to open a restaurant before I was 30. And, we did it.
Yeah.
Open. I got my CO at my 29th birthday. Didn't even realize it was my 29th birthday, and we were getting our certificate of occupancy for this place. And it was a lot on my plate at once. And then we focused on the restaurant because in my mind it was like, okay, I am a chef now. I have to prove myself to this community, because you do, right? Mentally you do. And prove myself that I'm not just this meal prep chick that's like cooking healthy food and metaphorically and physically cooking in a box, right? And so I get to be creative and do whatever I want, cook with butter, and work with the farmers that I wanted to work with. So we strictly were just farm to table. We worked with our farmers, and whatever they had, that's what we put on the table as our special. And with all of that, it was the biggest eye-opener I've ever had, because ultimately it was the most fulfilling and the most heartbreaking, because I understood the food side, and I pride myself on understanding my numbers and the logistics, and I overthink everything constantly because it's what's going to happen, what might happen, what probably would happen, and then a plan C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
And so I like to plan like that. And with the restaurant, you can't just do it all. And you have to realize that
Yep, you got to have the people
the
around.
chef, typically the creative side, my brain works on a creative level, and I can do the finances and a couple of other things in the marketing as well on a smaller scale. But the creative part, that's where I thrive. Everything else, it's just only because I have to do it. But the restaurant, it was great. The numbers were great. The food was great. Our team was great. But at the end of the day, our margins in a restaurant, especially without alcohol, it's so slim, you're just, chomping at the bits. But so Prepped Up was kind of like, it ended up being like the step kid, it was on the side because I was trying to prove myself at the restaurant. And we were still doing it, and it was actually what was like footing
The bill.
the bill.
Right.
Yes. And that's like, okay, we do this, we're going to be good, we can make rent, we can pay our vendors, we could do, all the back and forth. And so COVID hit, and we were forced to shut down. And I remember I was like, I have enough for rent for this month and for maybe next month. And what are my employees going to do?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And then it's going to make me emotional. I'm going to try not to. But we had our clients and our customers that came in every day, every single day, because they wanted to see the restaurant survive. They loved it. They believed in it. And then, so we had people that we didn't know and customers that came in all the time. Okay, well, we want to buy food for the hospitals. So we go in there, we make food for the hospitals. We want to buy this for this after school program or whatever it is. And then, or we want to buy gift cards for when you open back up. So we had this like influx of just sales all of a sudden. And that's what kind of like was keeping us afloat. And then I remember I'd asked for like, hey, can we like hold off on this month for rent so I can open back up? And it was denied. And I was like, okay, I need to make a decision what we're gonna do. And so I cried and I cried and I prayed and I was like, oh my God, I'm a failure. If this does not work out. And then I paid the check, and then I spoke to the guy who's over all the leases, and I saw in his face that it broke his heart to take that check. And then after we pay that, they're like, okay, you get 1 month of COVID relief after you pay that. It's like, okay, maybe we could like work a little bit more, and I can't take out of my personal. Like that was my number one thing, like going into the business, is that the business has to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's not fair to my family if I'm constantly taking from our personal, you know?
Right.
And so I don't think I paid myself for like 2 years, maybe 3. Yeah, probably close to 3, trying to get everything off the ground. And but it was making money. Our employees were paid. Everybody was happy, you know. But anyways, COVID hit. Fast forward, we decided to shut it down over some tears and a lot of wine. And we picked back up with Prepped Up.
Yeah.
And I was so worried. Like we had kind of put it over to the side. Like, is anybody going to want it anymore? And man, they ate it up. It was like you took it away for a little while, and then here it's back, and everybody's
Sometimes
ordering.
getting back to that bread and butter. I've done that so many times, getting off track on this.
Yes.
The other thing that you're saying that I've been thinking about, it took me a long time to realize how proud I am of some things that didn't work.
Yes.
And you know, you feel like I am you probably know me well enough. I'm competitive as hell. And so like to say
she's
like
a competitor
it didn't work, you know, like I know how hard that was because I go through that. But like Shreveport Magazine, like I look back and I can talk about it now with like this huge pride about what we did and how in the world did that ever work. You know,
worked through
and that's the same thing. And it's cool when you get to that point you're at now to where you can look
100%.
back.
Now, Megan, you know Shreveport well. You know this community well. What are we doing good in the community? What are the things that are going right in this community? Because and the reason I ask that is a lot of people want to focus on the negative, and I've never heard you go negative once. And the whole time I've known you, which goes all the way back to 2014 when you came in with the first idea, I've never heard you go negative. What's going right in this community?
Well, first of all, whenever you talk about never going negative, you never. Once you start talking negatively, then it ends up being the reality, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't particularly like to talk negative about anything because then that becomes the reality of your life. And Shreveport, she's all right. But there are some really good things that Shreveport's doing right. And you look at like Prize Fest, for instance. There has not been this camaraderie between the chefs until Food Prize just went nuts. And so now it's to a point where we all know each other. We all try to work together or like whenever it's time for something like I need, say for instance, I need this kind of mushroom. I type out into the group, I need this, somebody comes through. Hey, I need a dishwasher tonight, somebody pulls through. Even if it's one of the chefs. Mm-hmm. Hey, I need this, they're gonna make it happen. And so, you know, my niece just did Golden Fork with me, and then she decided to go, instead of taking the route of the professional, you know, this or traditional college, she's going to culinary school.
Oh, wow.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you. So getting her, we introduced her to a couple of the chefs in town, and they're like, "Hey, come work in my kitchen. Come see how this is." Like everybody's just taking her under their wing.
I do agree.
I mean,
people in Shreveport. I mean, if you need somebody, you know, you talk to somebody in your network, you talk to Matt, you talk to me, we're going to know somebody. Yeah. Right. You're going to get what you need.
The beauty of it is it's a big small town. Think about it. You know what everybody's doing, but there's a good and a bad side to that. And ultimately, if I need something, you make that phone call to whomever it is, and
they're going to come.
Everybody's going to come through. And that's the cool thing about it is there's always some sort of event going on. And you walk into a room, you're going to know half the people that are in the room, right? Yeah. And I think that's really kind of neat. It's a double-edged sword, but
it is.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword.
You get it.
They think they know your business, okay, but really they don't.
Hey,
okay.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of good guys out there.
There are a lot of good guys.
There are a lot of good guys, and there are a lot. I can say this about Shreveport, and we all have done. Like, you cannot be on the same. Mario and I have not always been on the same side of a lot of different things. But if Mario needs something or I need something,
Yep.
Like we talk, and we've been doing that for 12 years or something. I mean, like, you know, that's a long standing, and there's a lot of that goes on. In this
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of it from people that are not
I'd rather
on the news saying, you know, it's a lot of good
I'd rather do it here than when I
trenches.
was in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
I worked
man,
twice
I
as
can't
hard
imagine.
to get things done. Well, Megan, thank you for coming.
No, of course.
This has
Thank
been
you
exciting.
for having me.
That was a
Thank you for
blast.
telling
This
us
was
your
fun.
story.
Sure.